we could probably do a one-act play 3 times this, and we'd be fine, each of us individually. So my name is Keith Foster. I do a couple podcasts, one about vinyl record collecting, one that's kind of in hiatus called Nerdometrics, where I would just talk about nerd stuff and economics and combine the two. And I also write, I write this comic. It's called Kodoja. It's a giant monster comic. It's going to be out, this is actually an advanced preview edition, but it's going to be out in every comic store in about 2 weeks, I think. So, more giant monsters, please check it out. It's giant monsters.
Storyline?
What's that?
New storyline?
No, so this is actually the reprint.
Oh.
Yeah. So we actually released this independently. Let me get away from the pops. We released this independently, and then a comic company came along and picked it up and rebooted it. So it's starting up again. And again, if you like it, you should be able to go to your local comic shop and order it. I don't know if they're going to stock it because comic shops don't exactly, buy gold-plated Mercedes on the strength of giant monster comics. Right? So anyway, I hope you check that out. And why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, Frank?
Oh, hi. I'm Frank Woodward. I'm a filmmaker. I did a documentary called Men in Suits, which is all about the guys who put on these things. And we did interviews with people, including the original Godzilla, Haruo Nakajima, just to talk about what it is to be inside the suit and how it's more than just putting on rubber. You actually have to perform through the thing. So I produced film documentaries like that, as well as there's a Lovecraft fans out there. I also produced a documentary called Lovecraft: Fear of the Unknown.
Oh, me. Hi, I'm Steven Chillen. I'm primarily here as a Kaiju artist. I'm not down in Artist Alley. That's why I bring prints here in case there's something you want to look at after and purchase you can. I've been drawing monsters since I was 3, and including superheroes and everything else. And then over the years, I've just become an aficionado and kind of like, my wife says, yeah, he's kind of one of the Godzilla experts, particularly in the local area. And she has no interest in any of this. She gives me a kiss and says, go have fun.
Yeah, okay. Well, so let's, look, this is just a loose freeform discussion on Godzilla. So we don't have a whole lot of stuff planned here. We did do a little bit of prep beforehand, and I think what we wanted to talk about, unfortunately we don't have any audio video, but I kind of talked with them about maybe doing some homework and talking about, the overall arc of this is kind of like where giant monsters have come from and where maybe we think they're going.
I did a whole
And so Frank did a PowerPoint, which is incredible. Unfortunately, we can't get it hooked up. But you can try that. And then Frank just wants to you want to talk through the suit evolution, right? Right next to it.
I think but we were going to talk about, because as many of you probably know, the suits, Godzilla, I mean, it's not just the one suit that we remember from the 1954 film. As this mask can attest, he's had many faces, 17 different faces.
Let me actually take a quick audience pool.
Yeah.
I think I like to do this every year. How many people have seen at least 5 Godzilla films? 10, 15, 20, every single one.
Wow.
All right.
Wow.
You guys give yourself a hand. That's great.
How many of those include
even
two
seeing
Americans?
5 Godzilla films is a big deal. You know what I mean? That basically qualifies you as a hardcore Godzilla fan. So.
And how many of you have seen both American attempts?
Unfortunately, all of us.
I can validate one.
Yeah.
I don't validate either.
Yeah.
That's about right.
So I'm sorry, we were.
Go ahead. No. I just wanted to see
we were
what.
just freeforming because we were just wanting to talk about. We have 3 different distinct eras of Godzilla movies, and we have 17 various designs of the creature. I mean, mainly, obviously, Godzilla stays the same, but you'll notice his head changes, his eyebrows change. He's 4 fingers, he's 3 fingers, he's 3-toed, he's long dorsal spine sometimes, and other times yellow eyes, and sometimes just plain old white eyes. Mm-hmm. He's all over the place, and I think it's fascinating that they kept on wanting to go back and reinvent the wheel. I mean, obviously from Godzilla to the second Godzilla film, Godzilla Raids Again, I mean, they had to make the suit lighter because you had a lot more fighting to do because it was the first time he was versus anybody. Anybody remember who he was up against in this second film? Go ahead, shout it out. Yeah, Angerus, yes.
All right.
Very much.
You man.
So they had, with the first suit, as you may know, was very much a improv process. They never really, first off, in Japan, this is post-war. So today, for anybody who's ever done any kind of suits or anything like that, foam, rubber, latex, these were not things that were around a lot in post-war Japan. Mm-hmm. So they had to come up with alternative means. A lot of Godzilla's skin, and the reason I think it probably has this kind of alligator texture, is because they use vulcanized rubber, which is melted tires, to make the bulk of the bodysuit. They had it propped up and gave it a skeleton using everything from wire to bamboo.
I had no idea it was, honestly, I had no idea it was melted tires.
A good deal of the body part for sure.
Well, that gives me a better sense of the weight of the thing.
Yeah, weren't they about 200 pounds? If I remember
They're
right?
close to 200 pounds. There were two actors that did it, Haruo Nakajima and I forget Tezuka's first name right now. Katsumi Tezuka, I think it is.
Okay.
There were two actors that played Godzilla in the 1954 film. And only Nakajima was the one who actually survived the process, in the sense that Tezuka, who was the head of the stunt department at Toho at the time, when he put on the suit, he didn't last very long before he passed out. And Nakajima, for a lot of people who may not know much of this about his past, Nakajima was a kamikaze pilot in the war. He was trained as a kamikaze pilot, just never got called up. So he went, when he was looking for work afterwards, he found Toho and started doing a lot of stunt work there, including things like letting people light them on fire. And that was one of the things that got him cast as Godzilla, because they're like, hey, we can light him on fire, definitely stick it. And he was the one who was able to keep his head about him and do it, and that's why he played the Godzilla from the first film all the way up through Smog Monster. Yeah. So he played it for quite a long time in the show era.
Really impressive run of that, yeah.
But the suits changed because, as you know, if you've ever seen from Godzilla 1984 to Godzilla 2000, you'll notice that Godzilla gets a little bit more expressive. But at the same time, though, I also, as the suit gets more like badass and like with the big spikes on the back and the really scowl on his face and everything like that, we lose some of the character in a way. Because it feels very animatronic to me. Does anybody feel that way?
Oh, I would agree with that, the animatronic.
Yeah, I mean, because they obviously want more expression in the creature, they want to be able to do more realistic movements in the face. But by doing so, I don't know, there's something... Yeah, Godzilla started as a villain, but when you get to around this face...
That's not a villain. Yeah.
This is not a villain, but he's still pretty badass.
But I think, too, that, like, so, you know, we kind of... When we had our amazing Facebook chat thread to talk about what we were going to talk about here, we were talking about Frank talking about the directing the suits. Steven was going to take a look and think upon the acting, and the thing I wanted to think about was the music, because I'm in a band, and I think that's where the music comes in, right? Because you can have the same exact expressionless Godzilla, right? And if you play like dun 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 dun, you're like, well, it's about to kick some ass, right? But then if you do the same thing and you have a very soft melody, you're like, oh, Godzilla has feelings, you know. So I mean, you know, maybe it's me and maybe I'm making like an obvious kind of point, but the music is such a hidden/unhidden superstar of the films.
Oh,
you know,
absolutely.
in terms of, I mean, it's like. Oh God, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like ubiquitous, but it's also kind of underrated because it's the expressions that a lot of the music carries that really drive a lot of the film, especially when you have a 200-pound suit that eyes can barely move.
Well, I think it's also underrated a lot too. One, because I think the general populace, and I mean no offense to anybody, don't really understand how music affects us subliminally.
Well, first of all, this is not the general populace. This is Godzilla fans.
Right.
They're smart about
Well,
it.
you know, and so people kind of just go, yeah, they have music in a movie, and it's like, watch any horror film that's supposed to have a good score. Like one of my favorite scores is to John Carpenter's The Thing. Mm-hmm. The very quiet Ennio Morricone, you know, it just crawls up your spine. It gets you ready. And the thing about, particularly Ifukube, his music, to me, has this sense of foreboding, like human, but seriousness. He didn't treat it like, yeah, I'm doing a rubber monster movie. He did it like, this is something bad that's happening. He took it very seriously, and the themes came through in the music.
No, I agree, and I think that's where, I think, again, when we talk about general populace, right, like the general populace's idea of Godzilla and rubber suits, it's like, oh, isn't that stuff you like that has rubber suits? It's like, yeah, I mean, there's a suspension of disbelief there, but, you know, you have to kind of be in it to be down with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, on this side of the fence, it's pretty obvious that, like, yeah, I mean, of course it's a person in a rubber suit, but, you know, you pretend, you let your brain work, you know, and you let the music kind of take you away instead of getting that level of separation where you're deciding to be snarky about it.
I mean, that's the joy of practical effects. I mean, who here prefers digital to practical effects? Anybody like digital effects? Any fans? Don't be afraid. There's nothing wrong with digital.
I think it's tandem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But digital is there's the old adage with magicians that if you're going to do a trick, you don't do the same trick twice in a row, because the first time they'll surprise people, the second time people will be looking for it. And you get a good film, like a film like Godzilla. Godzilla is one of those films. Is they'll mix up. They'll use miniatures. They'll use forced perspective. In later films, they'll use blue screen. They'll use digital effects. They'll mix it up to keep you guessing, and it allows for that suspension of disbelief because you're not looking for the technique. I think.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And that's something I think that's gone from films these days a little bit. Now we're very much in a passive filmmaking age where people, here's what the creature looks like, and we'll show it to you in all its glory, and we'll give you everything that you need to know, including where its blowhole is. But okay, I want to know what I want to make up for myself what it does behind scenes. I want to know. In my own mind, in my own imagination, I want to bring those things to it. And I think with the film, any film that requires you a suspension of disbelief like a Godzilla allows you to participate in it more. And I think you fill in a lot more of the blanks, and I think that's why the film still stands to this day. Not just the 54, but all the early films for myself. I'm a show era guy, so no offense to the later age.
I have favorites from each era, you know, but I don't have an era that's my favorite. But you know, I'm one of those people who, as they got sillier, they interested me less and less.
See, they interested me more and more. Does someone in the audience agree with me? It's like I like the serious stuff, but I also really do kind of like the silly stuff. But I think I like it when it doesn't break the fourth wall. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, guys, aliens in orange suits that turn into cockroaches are about to kill us. You know, it's like, this is a serious problem. You know, like, there's no Sharknado 2 was the one that recently did that. You know, like, I'm going off topic here, but one of the things I really liked about the first Sharknado film is that the characters inside the film believe this is a serious threat. Like, guys, there are sharks in the tornado.
Right.
You know? And then in the second one, it was like, here come the sharks in the tornado. Take care of them. You know, and it's like when you break that fourth wall, it ruins a lot.
Well, you know? The fourth wall, but it's also something about you're signing up to be a part of the creative process when you watch a film like Godzilla. You're signing up, you're saying that I'm ready to believe what I'm being shown on camera. And I'm going to be open, and I'm going to accept that in. And I think that makes us, I mean, as I was saying, it's passive versus involved. You're involved in a Godzilla film and I think that's why all the characters, whether it's Mothra or Rodan or even Mechagodzilla to a point, you participate in that film because you are a willing participant in imagining these creatures being alive.